and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And at this time, we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, board, before you, you have your agenda for tonight. Number one item is the agenda approval. Additions or deletions to the agenda. We will take 10B. Well, it'll be 10D, Darlyne.
Make it 10B1 and 10B2.
Yeah, we'll go 10B1, which will be the capital project ordinance that you have before you there that was passed out. The 10B.1. Okay. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda with the change for part 10 for the capital project ordinance?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gentry and for the approval of the agenda, second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay, motion passed. Second item, the approval of the February 11th, 2016, February 22nd, 2016, and February 24th, 2016 minutes. 3 separate meetings, and we will vote on all these at one time. Anyone have any corrections to the minutes? Okay.
Looks like we made the motion and seconded it. We didn't vote. You see what I'm talking about?
Top of page.
With the X on top of
Right there, on number 5.
number 5.
I guess we failed to vote.
Which set of minutes?
We voted.
February 22nd. On the February 22nd, be the second page, top of the second page.
Were you asking for the voting results?
Right.
Yeah, there was a motion and a second,
Mhm.
and we voted, but
Yeah,
the voting
we voted,
results
yeah.
aren't reflected in the minutes.
It was a 5-0 vote.
Yeah.
So if, make note that it was, vote was 5-0. Any other corrections? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Briggs.
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for February 11th, February 22nd, February 24th?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion, Commissioner Rice, a second by Commissioner Gentry for the approval of the February 11th, 22nd, 24th minutes. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay? All right. Moving right along, we have public comment. I have 4 people signed up for public comment. I think this is Justin Shelby. If you would come on down and state your name and stand over at the podium if you would, please. And the microphone, if you won't turn it towards you just a little so we can.
Yes,
And there is a 3-minute limit.
yes. My name is Justin Shelton. I'm here to speak on behalf of the tethering ordinance that will be voted on in the near future. There's a lot of things in this that there's quite gray areas, but I'd just like to touch on a couple of things here. In the tethering ordinance, it says here, good for animals. Many dogs are chained for 24 hours a day. But on the other hand, a lot of dogs are crated for many hours a day in a 4x3x3. And I just don't think that's right either. Chains are often very heavy and short, limiting the dog's capability to move. And they have mentioned to possibly build kennels. Well, these kennels are fenced-in kennels, and they can result in broken teeth and infection, leading to possible death of these animals. Dogs can strangle themselves if the tethering gets tangled or caught. Chain dogs are often at risk for extreme weather conditions and can lack food, water, and basic care. Well, any animal can. An animal in a living room can. Whenever people put them away to go away for the weekend, the same thing can happen. And sometimes collars can strangle these animals if it's not monitored on a normal basis. And I believe that can happen to any animal, whether they're in a kennel or anywhere else in the living area. And it also says in here, chained dogs are a public nuisance, notorious for barking continuous. Chained dogs are so lonely and frustrated that their only outlet is to bark. Well, I can't agree with that. I mean, I had a dog that barked if you turn on the kitchen faucet. It'd bark at running water and just foolish. So we keep saying it's lonely and he needs a friend. I don't know what's the matter with that animal. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry King.
My name's also Terry King here, like you stated, but I'm also here to speak against the Tethering Act. Starting off, foremost, I am totally against it. I mean, where would something like this even come about? Like he touched about, there's a lot of gray areas. I mean, we're in a county that does these people that's brought this about, I like to ask Guns a question. Do they have dogs themselves? Do you need signatures? I mean, we can get all the signatures you want. We're in a hunting county, which I mean, is all very aware of. I mean, there's no basis or grounds for this. I mean, we've always kept our hounds tied and chained and done it for hundreds of years now. I mean, it's more tradition than anything. They've always actually get better care. Like he was touching on, a lot of them get left out in these kennels and stuff. And like you said, disease is very high because they don't get treated properly. Their joints can set up arthritis. I mean, foremost and outmost, I'm firmly against it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. We also have another Terry King.
Yeah, my name's Terry King Senior. I'm like you said, pretty much firmly against all of it. I mean, I'm sure y'all had dogs before, probably still do. If you put a dog in the concrete kennel, you're gonna have to have concrete fence again. It's gonna dig out, or it's gonna climb out of that kennel. I mean, you got dogs on that concrete. I'd rather have them dug in the ground. They're gonna be warm. Common sense will tell you that. You get out 10-degree weather. First thing, say you got a dog in that kennel. You come home. First thing he's gonna do, he's gonna run and put his paws on that fence. His paws will stick to that metal. His feet's gonna wear off on that concrete. He's gonna have arthritis for his 3-year-old. Be frostbite. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If there's a better way, people around here, they've figured it out now. They've been doing it. I'd be doing it. If there's any way to keep your dog in better shape, you ain't gonna put a $5,000 dog out there and expect it to freeze to death. I mean, you know. But I think, like the people complaining about this, I think people, and I'm not against, you know, doing something about people starving and mistreating these dogs. If they do that, then they build them this evil. But like we stated, it's a hunting county. I mean, people gonna have their dogs, and a lot of people, you force them to put them in there, and dogs climb out. What they gonna do? They're gonna chain that dog. That dog's gonna climb on that side, and he's gonna be hungry. It's just, it's no way. If there's a better way, we'd figure it out. We tried everything. They just, there ain't no way to do it other than chain that dog. I mean, pretty much, you know, keep him healthy. And them dogs are not on that chain 24/7. I mean, it's, but I think it's a bad idea altogether. just like temperature drops, you got a barrel dug in, you got that dog chain. That barrel's dug in, it's below the frost line. That barrel, common sense will tell you it'll be warmer than this house sitting up here on this concrete that I was walking around under it all night, all day, at 10 degrees. There's no way that's humane to keep them in the kennel. It won't work. And that's, there are a lot of things to it, I think, that they need to look into before they bring stuff up like this, but evidently they're not. I mean, that's like I say, we kept them, been here 100 years like that, and that's if it works. I mean, I don't say the point is, because with these kennels, you can have these dogs out the road, they're gonna dig out, they're gonna climb out. If they're not covered or covered, they're gonna be in the highway, they're gonna be causing wrecks, and they'll be run over. I mean, it's a number of things, it just won't work. I mean, if we had some way of doing it, but knowing that a better way, we could have done it already. I mean, a lot of boys, you know, they've got a barn, they've got a whole box up, they're insulated from going in. I don't know what more of that, I don't know what more you can do. And I ain't talking about short chains, you got him on a 6-foot chain, which most people, most of us, we use 8 to 10-foot chain. You put that dog on a 6-foot chain, he's got 12-foot running room either way. All right.
Appreciate your comment. Thank you. Heavy rock.
I'm gonna begin by saying I'm here as a resident of the county. I'm actually gonna speak in behalf of having a kennel and a dog on a chain. In this, I think we just need to use common sense. Again, I've got both of them in my house. There's a difference in mistreating an animal and tying an animal up. Now granted, we've got people in the county that have no means of keeping their animals on their property. That may need to be addressed. But whenever you stipulate that tying a dog on a chain, then you specify from that. And just to open the door, what would restrict it from further restrictions, saying now a dog or a cat's got to be inside the house. All right. If you draw a line somewhere, use common sense. I urge you guys, when you vote on this, to take the entire county into play. This is one of our bigger hunting counties. I can speak for that statewide. Been all over the state. All right, with the kennel, is there going to be restrictions on the kennel? Are they going to have a concrete pad so they can't dig out? A dog on the chain in the wintertime, it gets muddy. They're going to be in the mud. Same thing as a kennel. All right, just basically putting one in the kennel, that's not going to change a whole lot. Granted, a lot of these fellas back here will tell you, and a lot of them may want to speak. I know a couple come in late, but further restricting that, there's nobody checks right now. Nobody checks for these house pets to see if they're up to date on their vaccinations, their treatments. That may be something you need to look into about how you keep an animal. All right. And again, this is based on countywide, what I've seen, hunting, fishing, traveling. It's hard to put one restriction there. I think you kind of put the horse before the car, or the cart before the horse, excuse me. I'm a little scattered. I found out about the meeting 30 minutes ago. All right. But granted, if you do pass this, maybe you ought to look into putting as far as a chain restriction on more dangerous animals. All right, most of your problems with health and injury occur from, you know, probably everybody in here knows your pets. All right, that's your number one concern. Most of your hound dogs in here, they run up. They probably gonna stay at somebody's house because they've been out running all night or all day. That's what a hound dog was engineered for. All right, and you look at, oh, they're poor. I hear that all the time. You look at these athletes on TV. Most of them look like I do, skinny. All right, they're working dogs, just like a horse, an ox, anything you put out there. All right, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
That's all that I signed up for public comment. Thank you all for public comment. Appreciate y'all coming.
I come in late and I like to say something. Is there's a difference between a yard dog and a working dog. There's a big difference.
Would you like to come down and have your 3 minutes? You're more than welcome to, since you came in late. Here you go. You would sign your name.
The wife's coming up on one thing. before y'all do this, maybe we'll open something up online to allow the whole county to comment on this, because I know a lot of folks can't get out here. This is just an idea of putting it there. I know some other agencies do stuff like that.
My name's Ricky Clinton. I just found out about this about 10 minutes ago. Well, like I said, there's a big difference between a yard dog and a working dog. And just like Levy said, if you look at all the athletes on TV, if you look at a long distance marathon runner, you won't see none of them up there on the starting line that looks like me. You won't do it. They're thin, they're slim because they train, and that's what they're made for, and that's what these hounds are made for. They're long distance marathon runners. If you put a hound on concrete, it's a proven fact. They'll wear their pads off. You can't hunt a dog, you can't turn him loose without no pads on his feet. You tie a dog up to a chain, and in the wintertime, it gets muddy. You have to take care of them. You have to put them on a bigger chain, put them on a bigger tie out where they've got more room. You put a dog on a 10-foot chain and put a stake out in the center of that to where he can go all the way around that and not get tangled up. He's got a 20-foot run. You put a dog in a 10-by-10 lot, you're defeating the purpose by putting a dog in a lot. And I don't think that a hound should be put in a lot. And I don't think a German Shepherd, dash hound or whatever, I don't think it ought to be put in a lot. I think that's inhumane to put a dog in a lot. They face bark each other. They're crazy. A dog in a lot is crazy. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. I will like to explain to everyone that came here tonight for this, about this leash situation and the tethering situation. It is not on our agenda. We have, we've discussed it some as a board, not in depth. I don't even know that it'll come to a vote. I can't sit here and tell you that it'll go that far. We don't know. So that's where we're at with it right now. I do appreciate everybody coming because I wanted to hear from the public, and I appreciate y'all coming. I hear you. I understand what you're saying, and I will take everything you say into consideration. Thank you. Anything from the board? One thing. Okay. Number 4, Ms. Tammy Cody.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I've asked to provide you a brief update on our full-scale exercise that occurred on Friday, February 26th. So if I can start with that briefly. The scenario was a white powdery substance was delivered in a package through the Postal Service in Madison County, and it tested positive for anthrax. The package containing the substance was believed to have passed through multiple mail facilities and came in contact with an unknown quantity of mail distributed across the entire county. A request was made to begin dispensing prophylactic medications to all of our residents. So this exercise was planned for many months, and prior to Friday, on Thursday, we made a request to the National Stockpile to have these antibiotics delivered, and on Thursday, we accepted oversight as outlined in our policy. Friday, the day of the exercise, as you may recall, we had some snowy weather in the county, and the students from the school were supposed to help us with this exercise. Well, school was out, so that left us an opportunity to improvise, and we did very well. I'd like to thank all of the county staff and our many partners for helping us. We were able to demonstrate dispensing these medications to our residents. And I have in front of me, I just got this, our after action report and improvement plan. And overall, we did very well. The areas for improvement center around the location. Since we had to do the exercise during a work day and it was on Friday, we had to use the health department. In a true life emergency that's of a life-threatening nature, that would not be the best place to utilize. And we are aware of that. So almost all of our opportunities for improvement center around the location's not big enough. We can't move people through there quickly enough. And our evaluators, we had the health director from Raleigh and the preparedness director come up and evaluate us. And they were very understanding, they were very complimentary of how we dealt with our exercise. And overall, I'm extremely pleased.
Where would you normally do that at then? What facility do we have would be big enough to accommodate that?
The high school would be the best option in the county with multiple sites that could distribute smaller amounts.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to the item that you have in front of you. It was brought to my attention that about a year ago, the price that we charge for water samples has some issues. About a year ago, the state began they went up in the price that they charge us for the 7 items that are listed on the spreadsheet in front of you. So you see the price that we pay for the chemical, and this includes the processing of that. You see the courier charge and the total charge that we pay for this and what we sell it for. Then you look at the margin, which there's a small margin and there's a deficit on many of them. I have outlined a proposed adjustment. And at first, when I presented this to the Board of Health, it went there twice. The first time they asked that we look at other counties, there's 2 neighboring counties there. You can see that we are significantly below on all the items there. We did research other companies to purchase these chemicals, and the state is still the least expensive by far. So we need to stay with the state, looking at our neighboring counties. This small adjustment that I am requesting still does not include or is not offsetting the cost of stamps, toner, paper, staff time. And you can see from last year alone in 2015, the deficit we ran from purchasing and selling these supplies to our residents. This did go in front of the Board of Health again last month and was approved by them.
Okay. Any questions, comments for Tammy on this water testing rates?
So in essence, even with the increase, you guys are really just gonna break even?
We're not completely going to break even. We're still going to run at a deficit, but it'll put us in a better situation. And we're not selling things for less than we're paying for.
Understood.
Okay. That's good. Any more comment? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the new rates for the water testing as presented by Ms. Cody?
So moved.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Rice for the approval of the water testing and a second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
All right, next item, we have a vacant school nurse position, and this position is at Madison Middle School. We posted this position internally and had one of our nurses who currently works at the health department express interest. A interview committee consisting of myself, our nursing director, the lead school nurse, and Dr. Christian Ramsey conducted an interview. All felt that she would be an asset in that area. I've also spoken with the principal of that school, and I'm here to make the recommendation that we allow her to move into a school nurse position.
Sounds like you did the right steps there, getting the approval from all those involved. That's good. Appreciate you doing it that way. Any more comments or questions from the board?
I would add that this position is funded entirely by the school.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve Ms. Cody's recommendation to employ Jennifer
Legliski.
Yeah,
Polisi.
in a vacant school nurse position?
So moved.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a motion by Commissioner Weckrell for the approval of this employment of this school nurse, second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Ms. Connie Harris. Turn that. There you go. Thank you.
Just so you know, each year across the United States, March is designated as Social Work Month, and each year in Madison County, we ask our Social Services Board as well as the Board of County Commissioners to recognize March as Social Work Month. The Board of Social Services made that recognition at our meeting last week. The Madison County Department of Social Services employs 23 social workers and supervisors in the area of child welfare and adult services. And I'm gonna have a small event for them later in the month and recognize them at that agency.
Oh, good. That's good. That's good. Any more? Any questions, comments? Do I hear a motion to approve Ms. Harris' resolution requesting declaring March 2016 as Social Work Month?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gentry, a second by Commissioner Rice for the resolution for Ms. Harris for March being the Social Worker Month. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Melanie Moore.
Great, good evening. The first item I have tonight is I'm requesting to advertise for 2 substitute circulation assistant positions. The requested positions would help ensure coverage and quality of service at each library location. I'm not sure if you can remember, but a few months ago, I came to you and you had approval for substitutes, but unfortunately, 2 of them have already put their resignation in. So we would like to advertise again so we have that summer coverage because we know we revisit vacations. And it is budgeted for the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
Where do you advertise this at?
We placed it in the paper,
Local?
yes, and also on the county's webpage and the library's webpage.
Have you done any research to see which one you get most response from? Have you ever asked them where they saw the ad?
Most of them get from the county webpage when they're looking for jobs.
Cool.
From my understanding.
That's fine. Thank you. I was just curious. Thank you.
Any more discussion, any questions? Melanie on this? None? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve Ms. Morgan's request to advertise for 2 substitute circulation assistants?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Wakefield, second by Commissioner Rice for the approval of Ms. Morgan's request. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed?
The second item is the E-rate. It is that time of year where I will submit our E-rate proposals. And the way E-rate is, I'll just give a little background on it. E-rate is commonly used for the Schools and Libraries program for the Universal Services Fund, which is under the FCC. The program provides discounts to assist schools and libraries in the United States to obtain affordable telecommunications and internet access. The program saved Madison County Public Libraries an estimated $15,000 last year. This year, it should save us approximately about $14,200 because we will be getting a reduction in the phone service coverage. So each year, they're phasing that out. And so at this point, we're at 60% on that. In compliance with the FCC, on January 4th, the Madison County Public Library posted the 470 inviting bids from all participants requesting internet access. The bid closed on February 1st of 2016, and the bids received were from Frontier and French Broad EMC. If you look at the Ethernet connections bids, French Broad is obviously the best choice financially. French Broad is $750 a month with no install. Frontier was $3,000 $3 a month with a $150,000 install. So it's obviously a huge difference.
They don't want to sell too much of that product, do they?
It's not. So at this time, the library elects, with your approval, to have French Broad EMC provide service at all of its locations as the most cost-effective choice for these services.
This is already budgeted, Melanie?
It is, it's part of our
Your annual budget?
budget, yes.
Any more questions, comments? Melanie on this? Do I hear a motion to approve Ms. Morgan's recommendation that French Broad EMC be the provider?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
And I have a motion by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Weckel, for the approval of the recommendation for the French Broad EMC to be the provider for the internet connection. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee Hoffman.
Good evening. My name is Lee Hoffman. I'm here representing the Richard L. Hoffman Foundation. And I'm here to give you information about a project that we're doing, a conservation project on Bailey Mountain, and also to ask the commission for a resolution of support for this project. I don't know if what kind of information you might have gotten, if you've gotten any information about it. But to give you a little bit of background, from 1996 to 2004, Madison County, the town of Mars Hill, and the Mars Hill and Madison County community all came together to purchase a 200-acre tract on the southern slope of Bailey Mountain. This property had come on the market for sale. It was all southern exposure property, but more importantly, it took a big chunk of Bailey Mountain, which, as most of you probably know, Bailey is the highest peak around Mars Hill. It's a very prominent landmark. Its name shows up a lot of places: Bailey Street, Bailey Mountain Cloggers, their books, their poems. It's woven its way into the life of the county in ways that a lot of people don't even recognize. It's in the town seal. It's in the seal of Mars Hill University. Many of you, I'm sure, have climbed to the top of the mountain, and it used to be an initiation for freshmen coming into Mars Hill College to go to the top of the mountain. So it's integral, and it needs to be protected. It's a local treasure, if you will. So that 200 acres was purchased. A conservation easement was put on that property. It's available to the public and has been for use. The Mars Hill College and local volunteers have been very active in building trails and developing a network of recreation opportunities on the mountain. And at this point, there are about 6 miles of trails on that 200 acres. It does include the peak of the mountain and through Hamp Gap, and it borders the bike park, which is off of Bone Camp, if some of you might be familiar with that. But if you're going from here to Mars Hill, when you pass Dimensions Studio on the left, if you look up that valley, it's that whole watershed. That's the 200 acres. What I'm here tonight to introduce is during the course of many months last year, we negotiated an option to purchase with the owners of what we call the Smith property. It's an 89-acre tract on the east slope of the mountain. It borders Forrest Street and Banjo Branch. And if any of you have ever walked the loop or run the loop or heard about the loop, this property is on the loop. And so it's very accessible. It's very much a part of a natural walking, running, recreation trail that people already use. The significant thing about it is that it does join this 200-acre tract at the top of the ridge, and it would provide an access point for people to be able to get into that larger tract, but also to develop recreational activities on this Smith property. The problem with the 200-acre piece that we have right now is that in order to get into it, you drive out of town about 3 miles. You go through a couple of gates, through a couple of different property owners, and then you park at a barn, and then you walk, and then you get to the property. All of that is right of way. It's all legal access, but it's very cumbersome, and we've been reluctant to publicize and promote that a lot because had several instances of people wandering off onto other people's properties and leaving gates open, and it just becomes problematic. So it is there, it is available, and it's free access. But what the property needs, what the mountain needs, is access. So many years ago, we spoke with the Smith family about this, and they put a huge price on it, and we couldn't even talk about it. They've come to a decision. The heirs have that they are interested in selling it, and they are interested in seeing it protected and preserved. What we're proposing is that the property would be purchased. A conservation easement would be placed on the property. It would be developed with trails for hiking, for biking. There would be low elevation trails, and then there would be higher elevation trails that would access the adjoining property and allow people to hike up to the top of the mountain. There's any number of things that could happen on the property, but at this point, that's what's been discussed. Frisbee golf and bike or dog park and lots of other things have been talked about. But the one thing that we do know that would happen would be picnicking and just trails. The streams would be buffered, and of course there wouldn't be any development on the property other than what might be able to facilitate recreation in terms of like bathrooms and parking areas and that kind of thing. The map over here, and I know you can't really see what's what, but maybe after the meeting, if anybody's interested, if you want to look at it, the green in the bottom right of the map, that's Forrest Street coming around right there, and that green area is part of this tract, and it runs up to the top of that ridge, and that's where it joins the other 200 acres. So that's an aerial of the actual property. It's unique in that, this would provide a almost 300 acre natural area within walking distance of downtown Mars Hill. This kind of thing can actually become a destination attraction to pull people into the county. I think that, people come here to raft, people come here to enjoy the natural beauty and those things that we have to offer here, and this could certainly be another one of those. So we're in the process of raising money. The purchase price on this piece of property is $675,000. The total project budget is in the neighborhood of $750,000. And that's just to get through the purchase, and then we would approach other funders to actually develop trails and use volunteers and that kind of thing. The option that we have is a year option. It runs through November of this year. We have then the opportunity at that point to pay $25,000, which would go toward the purchase, to extend that option out for another 6 months. I have contracted with a conservation fundraiser, if you will. an organization that basically focuses on raising money for conservation projects. And so we have, working with him, we've developed a grant that was submitted in February to the Clean Water Management Trust Fund. I think that it has some chance. The problem with clean water and this tract is that the stream is not graded very high, so it's not a high priority stream. We were funded by the Clean Water Management Trust Fund on the 200 acres, and it was attractive because it was a headwaters, it was a watershed, and we were able to protect that whole watershed, so that made a little bit of difference. But I think the grant will score high, and it has an opportunity. There were 81 applications submitted requesting around $90 million, and I think last year they gave out 19 million. So it gives you an idea of the competition involved. We're in the process right now of preparing a grant application. The town of Mars Hill is going to be the applicant to the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund for acquisition funding for this. So we had a public hearing last night in Mars Hill and had about 20 people there. Some of those folks are here tonight. So that process is moving forward. We will also be approaching other private foundations. We're organizing a capital campaign committee, and we would like to ask if there's anyone on this board or a designee that you all might want to select. We would like to have county representation on that board as well. But we have a goal of raising $40,000 locally, not only to show local support, but also to have that $25,000 in hand when we come up in November and need to extend the option. So it's it's basically a fundraising process over the next several months. But the outcome, I think, would be a benefit to the entire county, certainly to Mars Hill, and to visitors who might want to come in. The other thing that is interesting about greenways and green spaces is that anymore people tend to have that in their list of amenities when they're looking for where they want to live, where they want to move to, the kind of community that they want to be a part of. And it also speaks to the value system of a community. If you value those natural resources that you have, and there's a desire to set aside those spaces. The last thing that I'll mention is that, and I know that you all are aware of this, but just for everyone's edification, is that the Parks and Rec comprehensive plan, the survey that was done in that, and I don't know what the scope of that survey was or how many people actually responded to it, but the number one response in terms of what is the need in terms of Parks and Rec in the county was greenways, green spaces, and community parks. So it certainly does fit into the goals of the county and the residents. And so I in 2000, in the year 2000, when we were doing that project, the commissioners passed a resolution of support for the project, and we were able to use that with proposals to foundations. It's good for the public and for funders to see that the county is behind the project. We also at that time had letters from the school system, from Land of Sky, from the Chamber of Commerce, and kind of just beginning this process. So, but I have met with the county manager and met with the Parks and Rec director just to make them aware of what we're doing. So anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Basically, that's the project.
Lee?
Yeah.
What is this right here with these roads?
That's part of the Lovins farm, and so their property extends back to and they just timbered that.
Oh, that's
So,
what that is.
yeah.
Timber roads, okay.
Yeah, so
I saw that, and I know this is
yeah.
behind my house.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
therefore I was kind of curious. I thought that was like bike trails.
Yeah,
The bike
no,
trails
that's,
run over
yeah, they're off to the,
that way,
to
okay.
the west, yeah.
And I don't know if anybody's went up Bone Camp and saw how many people ride the trail. It is a lot of people,
It is.
and it's a great thing. And,
It is.
and Lee, I appreciate the work you've done on this. I do. And I think it's a step in the right direction, especially in assistance with our economic development as far as bringing people in and having things to offer. I think it's great.
Lee, on the property you're looking at now, there's not much water.
Well, there is water. It's Banjo Branch comes through, and there are actually 3 tributaries that go into Banjo Branch that are on this property. So in the Clean Water Trust Fund grant, we're actually proposed to them to buffer 12,850 linear feet of surface water.
Okay.
The problem is that that water runs from there and runs down through the town's treatment facility and then goes down into Little Ivy. Now, the Little Ivy watershed in general is I think there are about 7 endangered plants or species that fall within that watershed, and this property is within that watershed. But we haven't been able to do the environmental survey to identify if there's any of those things exist on this particular property. So as just a stream, they classify it as Class C water, which apparently means that it's not that important. But that particular farm, it's a cattle operation. It's the only cattle operation along Banjo Branch, and the cows are in the stream, and what that does. So, there's an opportunity to really clean all that up and sort of refurbish the stream banks and eliminate the erosion that's happening. So that would be the clean water benefit.
Have you talked to the folks at Soil and Water about that?
I haven't, but the county actually, when Alan was county manager, Alan was involved with this at that time, and the county actually submitted a clean water grant at that point, and Soil and Water was involved with that application. So yes and no. They're familiar with the project, and I actually took some of their information and integrated it into our application, and we certainly would be working with them, if we're able to acquire the property.
Well, the only other thing, and we might be better for a conversation, so we're not burning up everybody's time here, but I'm on the Pigeon River Fund Board, and we need to talk about that.
Yeah, okay. That's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, Lee, with your request, you would bring the resolution back to us for a vote on, right?
He has provided at least an outline. It won't take much work to fix it for April. And one observation that I pointed out with Mr. Hoffman last few days ago is that the county is applying for the same Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant during the same cycle for property over at the Beach Glen Community Center. There's no rule in that program that says you can't do that, but the reality is if the state has the opportunity to put out a press release in Madison County and somewhere else, no matter how it is and how it's been, they're going to probably do that given the limited funds that they have. So there's the possibility that we will be competing. I don't think that changes, the fact that this is a good project and you probably want to consider a resolution. It means we've got to look at what we're going to do with our Beach Glen project and what the timeline is on it, because it's historically rare that they'll fund 2 projects in a county our size at the same time.
It's always something. But I think that this is a bigger project. I'm a little bit familiar with the Beach Glen project. It's certainly a needed project, and I think that they'd be considered in different lights. I think So while, they may, I mean, I don't know, I see some counties in this state that get lots of money, multiple projects funded, and so, I think that they can both stand on their merit. But at any rate, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate your considering the resolution. And if any of you have any question about anything, please get in touch with me. All right.
Forrest, would you like us to vote on this?
I can just bring you a resolution next week.
He'll bring a resolution
Okay.
in April.
Good.
Thank you, Lee.
Anything for me, just let me know.
You gonna stick around?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, because I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, we won't sell you the land cheap.
What?
I said, no, he won't sell you the land cheap.
Hey, go ahead.
I just want a little bit more of a backyard.
Park pretty nice back there.
Huh?
In the park, pretty nice.
Oh, yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, Ryan, Cody.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board. I'm here tonight to present you with a recommendation from the Economic Development Board. The Economic Development Board met on February 25th, and at that meeting, began to discuss their priority goals that they set in place in December. The top priority goal that they had set was broadband and internet access in Madison County. So at this meeting, we invited Wanda Profit and Keith Conover. Wanda is the Economic Development Director over in Yancey County, and Keith Conover works with the State IT Office, formerly the NC Broadband Office. We asked him to come and present. Yancey County has been very successful in getting broadband throughout their county, and so we asked Wanda to come and present how they have been able to do that. And Connie, you may be familiar with that process, but one of the things that we found out was that it's not going to be an overnight happening. It's taken Wanda and Yancey County 6 to 7 years to get where they are. They were able to secure a lot of USDA funding, and Wanda will be the first to tell you they were in the right place at the right time, but they also had taken the steps that I hope our county can do here in the next few months to be ready for that. And then Keith Conover with the state shared with us some of the information that he can provide as far as bringing all the partners, the private entities to the table, and having our board and the county committee meet with them and talk about what our needs are. So one of the first steps that we would be taking is a survey, countywide survey, to see how many people actually have internet service, what kind of internet service that they do have, what is available to them in their area. We can find out other information as well. But with that, the Economic Development Board wanted to recommend to you, this board, that you champion this effort. We feel like that this would be a collaborative effort, both with county, the Chamber of Commerce, our municipalities, our educational entities, and other local partners. But we felt like the Board of Commissioners would be the champion behind this effort. And without your support, we wouldn't be able to make any strides in doing so. But to sum up a few things, I guess, about broadband, there's some misconceptions out there, and I felt like it would be good for me to share that with you, just a few. As far as the county or any of the towns, we can't run our own system. We can't set up our own system. There's regulations that tell us we can't do that. Years ago, that was allowed. Some municipalities maybe tried that effort, but since then, there's been some legislative requirements that don't allow us to do that. We can't force anybody to sign up for internet service, no matter what we get. I mean, we get the greatest service ever, but we can't force anybody to buy that service. So one of the things that we've identified is that cost could be a factor. I can provide service to a home, but whether they can afford that service or not, that's a different story. We can't set or regulate those prices either. That's driven through competition and the private entities. We've got to have willing private providers. And that's one thing that has been a hindrance to our county. And hopefully, if we're able to bring all these providers at the table, it'll drive some competition that will get willing private providers who would be willing to take that service throughout our towns and into the more rural settings, the last mile, if you will, in the county. And those private providers have to be willing to help build that infrastructure. We can work through grant process and other things to try to obtain funding to help offset that, but they're gonna have to be willing to make an investment out of their own pocket as well. And so, you know, in all that, the staff will lead some of these efforts with the survey and putting this group together. But we really need your support in order to make this happen. If you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer any of them.
How many, as of right now, how many companies have you looked at that potential?
Well, one of the things we have Frontier Communications, Charter or Spectrum, however they're called. There's a wireless company, Ridgecoms, that's doing some. French Broad does some to some of our businesses through ERC, and then there's you know, some of the satellite as well. And so what we would do, and this is where the state would assist us, is we would call, you know, regionally any provider that might be willing. AT&T might be willing to talk about fiber. CenturyLink might be willing to talk about fiber. Country Cable Division up in Nancy County might be willing to talk about it. So we would bring all of these groups together at a meeting and discuss what we want to do, how we want to take steps in order to make this happen in the county, and see who's willing to step up and say, hey, we'd be willing to make that investment. Once we do that, and it's my understanding that then we can legally approach individual companies and talk to them about would they be interested in partnering with the county and moving forward and doing that. So, you know, I can't really answer who all, but that would be the process we would take.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Ted.
I want to thank you and Sarah for being willing to work with Nathan and the Workforce Development Board. Both he and Sarah are on a regional IT development board that is being established for the region. And thank you for representing Madison County on that and working in the bigger context.
I think so. I think it'll help. And then it also lies in some of our other economic development things that we're working on.
But thank you for doing it.
Aside from Yancey County having a better county attorney than we do, was Wanda able to give you any kind of a game plan to use to try and woo these other companies?
A lot of it is just, you know, they had a willing partner. Country Cable was willing to do that. And so once they had their meeting, they had the willing partner, and it really just took the next steps of looking for any grant money that was out there. And so for us, we can put this survey out. Once we get all these at the table, then we'll really start to try to nail down who is a willing partner, how many of them are willing to take that step, and then we can start searching for that funding that's out there.
Okay.
Ryan, speaking from personal experience, I had Frontier, and it got so slow that I couldn't even, you know, do basic stuff. So I switched to Charter. Cost me a little more money. I talked to a lot of people at Frontier, and apparently we were a hub of Weaverville or whatever. And by the time it got to Marshall, the speed was a little slower. Well, I could only imagine what that speed would be by the time it got to the head of Spring Creek or the head of Spillcorn.
Right.
So whatever we do, let's make sure that, and I'm sure y'all will do this, what happens in Marshall and Mars Hill is quite different than what is available in Laurel, Spring Creek, and in some cases Hot Springs. This is a Madison County effort. So I would just want to make sure that we spread that.
Yeah, we definitely will. And that's, you know, we understand that not every community is going to be the same as far as how we can serve them, but we sure want to make sure that we can serve every community.
Right.
And, you know, we've talked about this. It's a priority, especially with the technology the way it is. The student learning capabilities that are out there and potentially could be out there.
Right.
We want to make sure that we can serve all areas of the county with the most effective. And that may not be the same provider doing that. We may have to enlist multiple providers to make sure we can do that, but we'll definitely take those steps.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for the Economic Development Board's input on this and working on this, because this is one of the things that we need to put a lot of effort into in 2016 and try to get this completed by the end of the year.
It is. It'll, you know, hopefully we can get the survey done and get this group meeting maybe by midsummer.
Okay.
And then we can set up our next steps and start hopefully making some progress.
How will the survey be done?
The state suggested we do 60 days, so we're kind of targeting maybe March or April 1st for the start date of that, which would put us through the 1st of June.
Will it be done through a mailer?
We're gonna try to do mailing, we'll do county website, we'll try to leave them at businesses, library, any
Okay.
place that we feel like we can best reach our citizens. So, and once we do that, then we'll have an idea too of what our county residents need. But we'll be able to bring that meeting together. Hopefully, maybe late June, we can meet with all the providers.
That'd be
That's
great.
a target, so if everything goes well.
Ryan, I'd like to congratulate you and Sarah and the entire Economic Development Board, because a lot of people talk a lot about economic development, election year especially. Economic development, big deal, number one priority, economic development. We're going to build a plant and 8,000 people are going to be working here, yada, yada, yada. The point is, there is more, for me personally, there is more positive energy related to economic development right now than I have ever seen in this county. And I would like to thank Forrest for that. I think with Forrest's leadership, we have certainly, we've turned the corner and we've got a long way to go, but thank you for your efforts and what you do every day.
I appreciate
Make
that.
happen.
Thank you guys for your leadership efforts, and I do thank Forrest for his support and all that we've done. It's been good. We do have, there's a positive outlook, so we should be excited. There's a lot happening. And you know, one of the things that I'll say is wrap up here. This board, I believe, will be a board of action. They want to take this seriously. They want to see things done. So our next meeting is going to be in April, and we hope to reach out to you guys and some efforts maybe with that a little later on to talk about some other things that's on the priority list. So as we take this, and we're not going to solely focus on the one, we'll take steps to try to get those others going as well. So, but I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Appreciate you coming by, giving us this information.
And for those who don't know, Donnie is the county attorney in Yancey County too. Just to be clear, make sure everybody realizes I wasn't disparaging our county attorney. I don't have that skill.
You have in your packet the information, just a summary sheet I emailed to you, the full appraisal for the jail property. You all had previously considered an offer for $70,000 for the purchase of that building, and you elected to get that building appraised, and that appraisal came back last week at $85,000. Spoke with the person who made the first offer this afternoon, and that's still in play. That offer's still on the table for you all to consider. You have various options available to you. You can accept the offer and move toward an upset bid process. It has to be advertised, and someone can upset that bid. It can begin a auction. You can reject the offer. You could, at the end, if you accept the offer and bids come in, you're still not satisfied with the price, you can reject any offer at the end of the day. Or you can counter in some way if that's what you want to do. So that's for your consideration.
The upset bid process, just for clarification, is a 30-day process, correct?
10 days.
It's 10 days, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have a 10-day window to submit an alternate bid.
And I believe we would, Donnie, if it got upset in 10 days, we would automatically put it back in. We wouldn't have to come back and have the board.
You would, and if it is automatically renewed, the initial deposit will be made with the clerk to the board, and the advertisement will occur in the newspaper. And if there is an upset bid that is made, during that period of time, then it'll be an increase by at least 5%. And a deposit will be made for the clerk.
Well, let me state that the appraisal did come back at approximately 20% higher than the original offer. But I think still reasonably in the ballpark for what the building was worth. It's a special piece of property. I can't speak for the other members of the board, but I would be inclined, after very serious thought on this, and I thought about this a lot, it would be tempting to accept the $70,000 for what is probably a pretty sure purchaser. But I would be inclined to counter. And if he does not want to come back on the counter, then we could always accept. But I would be inclined to recommend that we counter at a value better than 70 and more appropriate to the value of the property. That's just my opinion. I speak for myself.
Well, I think if we counter and then it's accepted, then we're putting ourselves in a position where we have to take that. Where if we accept his offer and we take that, it can be upset.
You would still,
We can
counter
still-
would be upset too.
Yes, we can counter even though we accept his offer.
But the
Correct.
counter can also be upset.
If we make a counter offer, like you're suggesting, then the upset, and he accepts that, then the upset bid process would start at that point.
Correct.
Instead of starting at 70. I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't speak for his intentions, but if he thinks the property is worth 70, he or others may well think the property is worth the appraised value.
We need to, it gives here on the conclusion, the property weaknesses. The subject property is a 113-year-old masonry building that has been vacant since 2012 and is in poor condition. Weakness for the property include the condition of the property as well as the railroad right-of-way and flood hazard zone encumbrances. So that's what you're looking as far as the jail is concerned.
Well, I guess one of the basics here is, do we want to ask its appraised value, or do we want to offer it at the original price and see if anybody at all upsets it? Because if no one else upsets it, then we have agreed to sell it for $70,000.
And we don't have to.
We don't have to take it.
We don't have to take it.
we-
That's why I would like to continue with the offer of 70,000. I would like to see that. I would like for it to go ahead and accept this offer.
Well, originally, when we talked about this, some of the commissioners quickly stated that there was 2 or 3 people sitting out there in the wings ready to upset this.
Right.
Do we know that those people are going to step forward?
I was contacted by 2 today.
Do we have
I
that
think-
in writing?
No.
I think
Well,
the
look at my
longer
phone
we
records.
delay it, the more, I think time is of essence here. I think if we delay it, then we'll have less interest. I think we need to move forward with this tonight. I think we need to do something, whether it be accept this one or do a counter bid. I mean, this gentleman, I mean, he's held on for several months here. He's gonna get, after a while, he's just gonna throw in the hat and say, forget it.
Yeah, that's right.
When he does, then we have no starting point.
Okay, well,
We
let's.
have a starting point, and I think we need to do something.
All right, well, Mr. Chairman, would a motion be in order?
Just a second.
Well, we got more discussion.
Okay, discussion.
If you want to discuss this in closed session, it being property, can we do that, Mr. Attorney?
No, you can't discuss this. You can only discuss acquisition of property in closed session.
Okay.
You can't discuss disposition.
Well, we spent how much did we spend for the appraisal? $2,500. We spent $2,500 for the appraisal to tell us it was worth $85,000. We have an offer of 70. I agree with Norris. I would be in agreement to counter at the appraised value and see what happens. Because if you use the upset bid process, it's going to take, assuming 85 was the number we wanted to get to, and I'm not saying that would be the ultimate number. You know, we may end up somewhere south of that, or who knows? If all these upset bids come in, we may get $175.
$1 for it.
Yeah, we may get, we may get that tax value. I believe the tax value was what?
180.
180. Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
I think this speaks, I think this speaks more of the flaws within the tax value system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to make a report of VR. My personal
Folks, you see the county pays a lot in property taxes too.
But that's just my, you know, we got lots of opinions and ideas and whatever. I just want to make sure that we get we don't leave any money on the table. I look at this like it's so anything I was selling. If I was selling a tractor, I'd want to try to get the very best price I can get for it. And if I don't try to do that for the citizens of the county, then I have failed. Now, does that mean my idea is the right idea? No. We got 5 ideas up here and we'll vote, and if it's a split, we'll go with the majority. That's the way we do things.
But I do concur we need to get moving.
Yes, we do.
That's not a subject.
I would like to see something tonight on this, something, a finalization of something in order to tell this gentleman, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we're going to have. We're going to proceed. Then your upset bidders that have contacted Commissioner Wechtel can come in and
the building it depends on what a person wants to do with that building.
Mhm.
The people who have looked at it, for the most part, who've actually wanted to put something in there, realize that it's just a shell of a building. Not because the quality's bad. It's great. If you want to open a jail, it's but for you to, you know, use it for office space or rooms, I'm sorry, people are going to pay. There aren't that. But you're going to have to put some money into.
You're going to have to put a lot of money into that building.
Yeah.
So that's
What it's gonna sell for.
My grandmother was very fond of saying a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. And I think we have a bird in our hand here.
My grandmother was fond of saying you need to get the most you can give for what you got.
My grandmother would take a wooden spoon to you for saying that.
My grandmother would wear yours out.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
if we have a agreement, I'm ready to make a motion. Once the discussion is concluded.
If we as the board went with a counter offer, what would be the counter offer?
My motion would be that we counter at $85,000 the appraised value.
I would agree.
Why not let it go, what's been offered and see what happens? You know, we don't have to take it.
Because nothing may happen at all, Bill. It may be $70,000.
Well, that's right. And,
But we may not get an exception of the 85 request. So what have we then?
We got nothing.
Then we're nothing.
Oh, you're right back where you were.
With
It's
zero.
on the market.
This is like basketball. The ball's in our court right now.
Yeah.
When we
Well,
go back with the counter, the ball's in his court.
Yeah.
He can refuse that, walk away and wash his hands of it. Then what do we have?
Right, nothing.
I think that, my personal opinion, I'm going to say.
But I understand.
Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor.
Well, and again, I think it's, when we've discussed it, we all know what our views are on it, and I think we all respect each other's views. But I am in agreement that we need to move
Okay.
forward. So,
And Commissioner Gentry has made the motion that we counter with an offer of 85,000
correct, sir.
for the property that is being appraised here, which is the old jail. Do I hear a second? I have a second by Commissioner Rice for this 85,000 proposal for the counter bid. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Now, at this time, I will make the motion that we accept the offer of $70,000 and go into the process of the advertising and it falling in for upset bid if be. I'll make that motion that we accept this $70,000 offer.
I'll second.
And I have a second. I have a motion for the exception of the $70,000 offer. I have a second by Commissioner Weckrell. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask that you've actually set the number at 70,000, correct?
That is what the offer was, yes.
Let me suggest that you authorize me to draft that number on a North Carolina form because this form was tendered on a state of Georgia real estate form, which is, and it's probably, it's not in Georgia the last time I looked. And I can redo that and tender it with the same terms, with North Carolina terms.
That'll be like the car towers.
Okay. We will authorize you to do that. In with that.
Unless you want to, I feel comfortable with it.
No, I think it's
Okay.
your legal opinion.
You actually were talking about the price of the property,
Right.
that's what you were saying.
Yes. Okay, Forrest. I think we're going to.
Update on a couple of things. It's only been 2 weeks since we met, so it's going to be fairly brief, but the courthouse renovation is moving very rapidly. We started about 3 weeks ago, and some good news is the engineer has agreed to another way of installing the support beam that won't require us messing with the boiler. So we're still gonna have delay because we're waiting on the engineer to stamp that and get it to us, but contractors after getting that, and that will mean that boiler issue is no longer there, and we'll be able to move along and get those three rooms completed pretty quickly. I meant to get down there today. I hear it's pretty shocking how quickly things are coming along. So good to see that moving. Talked with Mark Cody yesterday. I think we've all worked under the assumption, I just want to confirm this with you all. We were in those offices until the end of September of 2014. And the clerk was in the offices that he's in now, which they've expanded over the years. Everything's grown, and we've grown and had to move, and they've taken over more of the building for court purposes. I told Mr. Cody, I don't see how we fit back down there with how we are. I wish we had our current space in the courthouse. That's just not possible. And I also don't see another county office that would reasonably fit in any of those spaces. So with future work potentially including having real usable public restrooms and multiple stalls, we're gonna have to probably take away some of the current office square footage. So assuming it's okay with you all, I think the plan would be to move the clerk's offices into all three of those offices. So you'd have the cashier in the old superintendent, county manager's office, the clerk, and a hearing room would be in the larger room, and he needs that space. He's had to move his equipment around to do that. His office isn't big enough to accommodate people. And then you would have basically the equivalent of the office outside of his would be moved across the hall. And we would probably use the big office he vacated as space we'd move people into while we did the other two rooms across the hall. But I don't see anything that we would have that would need, it's either too small or too big for what we need. So that's the plan is for them to use that for court functions. And then the small details discussed last month have been followed up on. The lights are taped on. They've got a timer on them, so they're not on for. That was my question. Then about there's a timer from 5 to 9. When the time changes, they won't come on till it's dark. And the light on the clock face has been fixed. All of them have been replaced, and the clock had actually stopped on one of the faces, and the order was off, and those have all been corrected.
Good.
So we're
And who fixed the clock?
maintenance.
Good.
Yep. A couple of you had asked, and I think Lori Ray had sent you an update on delinquent taxes. She sent this to you a couple times before throughout the year. First of all, I want to point out, Darlyne will have a report for you for the budget, but our current year taxes, we're coming in at 96% of our goal, which is better than where we were last year. Now, that doesn't mean we got a 96% collection rate. When we get to 100% of that goal, we'll be where we were last year. So we want to exceed that since our goal is raising the collection rate. I just did some quick calculations. Right now, we would be at 90.6%. This time last year, we were at 87.9%, would have been our collection rate. We ended up at 94.75 last year, so we're on a good track. A lot of work that the tax office needs to continue to put in. I know they will, but just the fact that we're ahead at this point in the year, we've raised, they brought in $275,000 more than they had at the end of February last year. So they're doing a really good job in the current year. We've come from a low in 2012 of 90.05%. Every percent increase in that collection rate is about $101,000 is being brought in. So that's a good thing, because 1 cent on your tax rate is about $180,000. So by bringing in 4 cents there, you're really helping the county, and those folks are doing a really good job on that. Another issue is how to collect back taxes that are there, outstanding taxes. If you look at reports from over the years, and Lord provides them, we will almost always at the end of that period get almost all those taxes collected. It just sometimes takes a very long time to get there. But you have had just so far this year, I believe, you've got a spreadsheet that Lori sent to you, but about $403,000 has been collected this year in just those back taxes from those prior years. 122 accounts have been referred to the county attorney. Total value of accounts is just under 1.4 million. 40 of those.
I don't mean to stop you. What was that figure again?
122 accounts.
Okay.
Total value of 1.4 million. Now, 40 of those, the first thing Donnie does when he gets these is send a letter to them saying, we're about to foreclose, we'll hold off on that if you will pay this off, or if you will start a payment plan. And this board has directed that payment plan be more severe than what you started off the right direction about 3 years ago, but then it got to where a payment plan was, people giving $1 when they owed a lot more. It's 25% down and the balance within a year. So those folks, 40 of those people have either paid it off or in that payment plan. 11 foreclosure or foreclosure pending, and 3 have sort of other circumstances legally surrounding them. And then there are a number of the balance there with the attorney, and we'll be sending those letters out and going through that process.
Forrest, we're going to be putting the delinquent taxes in the paper at some point. I got several calls last year, because we were starting the foreclosure, and Donnie doing a very good job trying to, get people to pay. Can we disclose in the paper with an asterisk or something that, yes, they are $100,000 owed in taxes? Can we tell, is it okay to tell the public that we're foreclosing on this property?
Well, the foreclosure notices will be public. The listing that goes in the paper is for taxes owed that year. So that would not be, and I doubt that there's very strict rules on what's listed when it's delinquent. I don't think you can do it. And that's important. I'll answer your question next, but that's an important thing to remember. If I owed $1 million to the county, and I paid it off yesterday and decided, well, I'm not gonna pay my taxes for this year, and I went back on that list, it doesn't mean, I've still gotta pay them and do that, but it doesn't, what you see in the paper for this year just only reflects that current year, what's going on.
That's right.
So regarding others and what they owe, we've seen foreclosure notices in the paper. There may be an option. I don't know. It wouldn't be part of the legal requirement for what's listed, but I don't know if it's a possibility to say what all's been referred and what that public record is. Donnie may know more about that. It takes the best thing obviously is people pay. People get, as you all know, but I just want to go through this for everybody. You get your bill in August. You have until January 4th to pay it. Then it's delinquent, and you still have till April to pay it, but you have to pay penalties and interest. If you haven't paid it by then, you get listed in the paper what you owe. You can still come and pay. And the rule we set up last year is, pay by the end of the fiscal year, or your name's automatically going forward to the county attorney. We had it, last year was the first year in recent memory, we'd sent out a letter in late May or early June reminding people, here's your 2, 3, 4, they also get a late notice, here's your 4th or 5th notice. And all those people who were getting their 4th or 5th notice called in absolute shock, not all of them, but what's going on here. And most of them paid it. We saw a lot coming in that month. It's important that be understood because there are multiple opportunities for a person understanding, and why is it so? Most people, it's a big chunk of change to put out at one time, even for a modest property, and it's designed to give people plenty of time to pay that. And a lot of people who've been able to don't have much patience for those who don't. I think you all said multiple times. But regarding what goes out there, I don't know what all is public or not. I know the amounts range from, well, I don't know the smallest amount, but I think the largest amount of an account that's on this list is
201, isn't it?
201.
204 on the back page.
204 on the back page. So that's one. Then I see one for $895. So best case scenario is people pay them and we don't have to involve the attorney to any rate. Well, but it's a long process, rightly so. We wouldn't want to be able to go in there and make something up or give somebody a fair chance who's falling on hard times. But any other questions? Our collection rate last year was 94.79%. The average for counties under 25,000 was 96.46 for the same year. We're below it, but we're much closer than we have been. And I know that everybody in the tax office is working hard to get that even higher. And what's been most important to that success has been the support of your board in authorizing them to do that. Questions?
Thank you, Forrest.
That's all I got.
Thanks, Forrest.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Darlyne.
Okay, I'll start where Forrest left off on the financial report. In addition to the tax office, our sales tax is up $52,000. Register of deeds fees are up $12,000. Sheriff's Department's up $41,000. Inspections up $15,000. Child support's up $6,000. And this is over the same time last year we're at. And that right now, at the end of February, we are in a gain of $474,000 compared to last year. questions for me?
On that part.
And we'll move on to, budget amendments. And this month, we need to do, approve the capital project ordinance for the 2016 qualified school financing bonds. That's, is a requirement of the state, general statute. And it's for the exact amount of money that the loan was for.
Okay.
Completely normal. No, so it's completely normal.
You reviewed this?
Yes, I just saw it. This is something that Darlyne figured out on her own there, and it allows her to segregate the monies that are coming in from the loan separate from the monies in her general budget, and it's a whole lot easier to keep up with. And she has to have this ordinance in order to segregate.
About the state.
Gotcha.
You got it.
I guess we'll do those separate. Do we do them all together on our budget amendment 8, or do we do that separate with the capital project order?
Then you do this separate.
I think we'll do them separate.
I think separate.
Yeah. Any questions on the budget amendment 8 for Darlyne?
No way.
Do
Are
I
we talking
hear?
about budget amendment 8 yet? We want to talk about the
No.
ordinance, right?
You just talked about the
Just the
ordinance.
ordinance is all
okay.
I talked about.
Yeah.
Do the ordinance first.
Any more discussion on the ordinance for Darlyne? None? Do I hear a motion to approve the capital project ordinance?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Gentry to approve the capital project ordinance for the 2016 qualified school financing. I have a second by Commissioner Wexler. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed?
And budget amendment 8 deals with health department. They're transferring money. And it's to deal with the school funded nurse. Also, Ryan, I believe, wrote a grant to the TDA, and they funded that grant in the amount of $7,500. Finance office, we are needing a server. Our server, we're having to call in IT a couple times a week. It's about to go down, so that's why we're needing $2,150. Medical examiner fees, those are based, on the number of deaths in the county that a medical examiner is required to go out to. The state went up on those fees by almost 13. What was that number, Forrest? Do you remember what number I told you today?
They,
Went from 1,300 to 28.
yeah, they went up about $1,500.
Yeah, so we're having to absorb that. So big money there. The juvenile justice, under the court facilities, that's for the housing of juveniles. When you're doing budget for that, you have no idea how many children are going to be sent there for that, so this is what this is. And then we're taking that money from lapsed salaries and in-home aides budget.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Darlyne on the budget amendment 8? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve budget amendment 8?
So moved.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, Commissioner Rice, to approve budget amendment 8, second by Commissioner Gentry. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, likewise. Okay.
Okay, the final thing I have is your February property tax refunds, releases, and vehicle releases for the month of February.
Any discussion on the board for Darlyne on the property releases and refunds for February? Do I hear a motion to approve the tax releases and refunds for February?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the tax release refunds by Commissioner Gentry, second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Darryl.
vacancies, huh?
Okay.
Attorney-client privilege
Okay,
and personnel.
okay. Do I hear a motion for 143-318.11? Go into closed session for attorney-client privileges and personnel?
So moved.
All right, do I hear a second? Second. All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Gentry for closed session, second by Commissioner Rice. All those in favor, raise your right hand. We are approved. We are in closed session.
Same room.
Okay.
Close.